know my everybody know my name. Everybody know my name. Everybody know everybody know everybody know everybody know my everybody know my name. Everybody know my name. Everybody
y'all get them liked up.
Louis V on my bag, my paint is dripping like water. I gave my city a bag, my shades are Dolce Gabbana. I dress my babies in Prada. I love the white girls, blonde hair like Lady Gaga. My seats are pina colada, my ring is see-through like vodka. I got connections with Cuba, I got that Tony Montana. I go hard in the paint, I fill my car up with Dane. I want this rap shit forever like Weezy, Kanye, and Dre. I mean mug on my head, and a me of the stead. Okay, I'm reloaded, you should be afraid. I rap Miami, LA, the Luda deep in VA. I violate my probation and take it back to the Bay. They call me South Beach Diet, I be losing that weight. My work is white as Madonna, I'm charging 50 an 8. They know my songs when they play, they know my car when they crank. It's going down when they see me, please remember my name. Solo. Everybody know my everybody know my name. Everybody know my name. Everybody know everybody know everybody know everybody know everybody know my everybody know my name. Everybody know my name. Everybody know everybody I be sick with the whip, I let you check my garage. My new Bentley's a bitch, I call it Nicki Minaj. I'm in tune with the fashion, from the shoes to the glasses. A shopping mall in my closet, take up a room in my mansion. My swag is swifted and Taylor, the women call me Omega. No lie, the kid is a player, my game is older than Sega. I'm a young street fighter, I throw blows like I'm Vega. I pop bottles of Mo, Merlot inside my bodega. I be buzzed at my shows, Kush is my cologne. After I powder my face, I brush the white off my nose. I got them green Transformers and them yellow Obamas. Chase it with my Corona, feel like I'm in the Bahamas. I mix that lean with my soda, promethazine in the soda. Okay, I'm still sorry, fuck being sober. Don't spend no loot for the mo. I smash a bitch in my Rover, I act a fool with these hoes, and once I hit them, it's over. Solo. Everybody know my everybody know my name. Everybody know my name. Everybody know everybody know everybody know everybody. Some money, I keep that work in my skillet. I shoot with Day County Goon. They say you straight little buddy. I'm sitting no black ice. I fought with DJ and Tice. I sit and wait for the drought so I could raise up the price. My car color is fruity, but I'm yelling no homo. I be rolling with Goonies and breakdown with Solo. I spend a stack on my drug. Everything got a logo from Ed Hardy, Jabot, to Abercrombie and Polo. I rock just like a roster. My niggas call me Mufasa. I'm the king of the jungle and be with killers and shots. My block hot as the summer. See the steam like a sauna. I'm bilingual while serving. I got that marijuana. AK-47. How you praying to Allah? I get high as a reverend off of the beans and the ganja. I be shoo whooped up. I got that flame like Flocka. The DJ playing my cut. I flex like Blocker, blue blocker, somebody. Everybody, my everybody, my name. Everybody, everybody, my name. Everybody, 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 everybody. You already know where I'm at. Holla at me. Everybody. Don't blow me. You a fool for this beat, man. All I gotta say is one thing. Blow for president.
All right, y'all. What's going on? What's going on? Let's get them likes up. I am Trigger Mike. Thank you for tuning into my inaugural show, my first broadcast. This is the premiere, the first official one anyway. I've been toying with the stream for a little while, you know. But I see everybody in the building. Dark Lake, thank you for stopping by, my guy. I appreciate it. All right, so Yeah, let's get them likes up. We got a few people in here. This is my premiere, so we're gonna get into it. I got a few things to talk about. I want to really thank some people, and since this is my first solo show, I want to kind of tell people who I am in a sense and just explain it. So as I grow up in my YouTube career, I guess you can say, so to speak, right? You can kind of hold me accountable for the things that I've said in the beginning, because you got to know what people are about. I've heard the term chameleon being used on these platforms, and I'm not trying to be that. All right. I feel like my points, my values, my characteristics, everything about me is pretty consistent across the board. So I figured, I just let the people know a little bit more about me. So welcome again to the Trigger Mike Show. I'd like to give a special thanks as well. All right. So I want to thank the people who's really been rocking with me, but I've been rocking with them. In July, I started this YouTube thing. I said, let me get on here and see if it's something that I want to do and you really get my voice out there, put my word. And there are people that I model myself after. So people that I studied and see how they do it. So I just want to give them a special thanks, So the Lapeef Network for sure. My man JB, Anton Daniels, the Fight Club, Aaron O, Brittany B. Definitely appreciate y'all. Island Girl Q, Kay and Kayla, Angry Man, Jay Prince. Some of these people even encourage me, like, man, you got to get your own show. Everybody always showing love. Fatty, Big Bad Bull, the Mod Father, everybody, that I've asked questions to that is able to help me. I appreciate it. But I really want to get into the topic, man. Let me put this banner up because I want y'all to look at the bottom of the marquee right now. All right. It says, is feminism the Antichrist? I said that yesterday on a show. I'm forgetting whose show. I think it was Aaron O's show, Overtime with Aaron O. And, it's something that I've been stewing on for a while, because when you say something like that, a lot of people are going to get philosophically in their feelings, right? So, some people are also going to get religiously in their feelings or socially in their feelings about that statement I just made. Okay, so is feminism the Antichrist? I'm going to try to make the case that it is. I'm going to try to make the case that feminism is the Antichrist. And I want anybody, that knows me, that rocks with me, come on to the link and try to prove me wrong or add points into why you think feminism is the Antichrist. I know that's a huge accusation because of what feminism is supposed to represent, but I really want to get down to the bottom of it. But before I do that, let me go back and tell you, a little bit about myself. So, who is Trigger Mike? First and foremost, I'm a family man. All right. As of September, I've been married 4 years. Okay, so I got a lovely wife. Yeah, I'm through and through a family man. 2 beautiful children. They are 3 and 5. I was very blessed to have them. I got a boy and girl, so I'm done. Hear me? I am done. No baby announcements from Trigger Mike. I took care of that. All right. So I am a first generation Nigerian American. And the reason I say that is because in these YouTube streets, I've noticed a lot of people trying to use that against me. But I want people to understand that being Nigerian American or being a first generation American immigrant of any kind, you have your own journey. But with this skin tone, okay, trust me, there's not much in your experience that's different from mine. You can't prove me otherwise. All right. I've lived everywhere you've lived. All right. And nobody walks up to me and says, hey, are you a Nigerian? Because I only discriminate or mess with, foundational Black Americans. That's not happening. All right. So I'm just letting you know that now. So when you look at my points and my views, you can see where they come from. So you can get that first and foremost. What is my profession? So I have a day job. All right. I am, for lack of better words, I'll call it a medical education developer. So essentially what I do is create curriculum and manage people who teach medical programs. All right. So give you a quick instance in a day of my life at work. Walmart wants to open clinics. Like you see how in the front of Walmart, there's a bunch of clinics everywhere. All right. But they need medical assistants, dental assistant, all, you know, they don't want to open medical and dental clinics inside of their stores. So they want to teach their employees. They want to give their employees the option to go to school for those jobs. And I design the programs for their people to go through. All right. I design the curriculum. I do a bulk of the work designing the program. So, you know, some people have said like, oh, you're a coder for education. No, I'm not a coder. I don't write any code, but I do create the programs. All right. Using the different learning management systems and stuff like that. And I also manage instructors, and I am also an instructor. All right, I moonlight as that. So if you ever see me on the tube and I'm typing, I'm probably responding to discussion boards and things like that. So on the opposite end, which will shock some people, okay, I am a firearms expert and entrepreneur. All right, I own a online gun store, which I hope to one day become the largest Black-owned online gun store in the United States. All right, the link is down in the description. And I'm also a competitive shooter. All right. So I shoot the handgun extremely well. You can check out my videos on YouTube. Heat Firearms is my handle for IG, and Heat Defensive on YouTube. All right. So I got links down in the description if you want to check out my stuff for that. But as a profession, that's what I do. I'm in medical education and I'm in firearms. All right. So you will get that type of content from me as well. Make sure to check out my shorts. So you'll get content on my perspective on a lot of world issues, and you'll also get a lot of Second Amendment friendly stuff. All right. So be sure to look out for that. All right. So thank y'all for rocking with me. But let's get into this topic right now, man. All right. Is feminism the Antichrist? I believe it is. Bring up my notes here that I've made on this. All right. So feminism is the Antichrist. That is what I am charging people with now. I want you to use your thinker. I want you to think about that. Okay. They say the Antichrist is supposed to be a person, a thing, or a disaster. I'll repeat that. The Antichrist is supposed to be a person, a thing, or a disaster. And let me put a disclaimer out. I'm not super religious. So I'm not saying this as somebody who's trying to make the case as a religious person. I'm not super religious at all. Okay. I'm just saying that I believe feminism is the Antichrist, and here's why. I believe the Antichrist is an ideology, and that ideology is feminism. So if we're saying that the Antichrist is a disaster usually ends in death. That's why I don't believe a disaster of any kind, like, you know, the pandemic or vaccines or anything like that that's recently happened. I don't believe that's the Antichrist. All right. The Antichrist is an ideology because it can infect people and change how they live while they are still living. Do you understand? All right. So another reason I believe feminism is the Antichrist is because the Antichrist is set to rule over nations. I'm going to let that simmer for 1 second. The Antichrist is set to rule over nations. One person cannot rule over all nations. There is not really enough weaponry. Okay. You cannot shoot off a nuke without getting one in return. You're going to have to shoot all of them at the same time. All right. So when we talk about nuclear war and those type of things, that's mutually assured destruction. But when you really think about it, what can infect nations? It's the ideology of people. And really what I want to speak on is the ideology that you can infect women with, because you can disarm men that way. That is why I believe feminism is the Antichrist. All right. So I really want y'all to think about that in this particular sense. Feminism is the Antichrist because of what I just said. Now, there's also the son of Satan theory. Remember, I'm not too religious. People say, well, the Antichrist is the son of Satan. Ask yourself, who invented feminism? Who invented feminism? Men invented feminism, not women. Men invented feminism. So that takes care of that theory. The Antichrist is said to be believed to be vaccines, politicians, rich people, social media, and the World Wide Web. That is pretty, it could be true, but I don't think the World Wide Web is the Antichrist. I believe it's the vehicle, the avenue in which to deliver that message. That's the way the Antichrist delivers their message. What better can you deliver better than an ideology over social media? All right, you see where I'm going with that? All right, so the final point I want to make before I open this up for discussion, and I want to read some things in the chat, is the reason I believe feminism is the Antichrist is because it poisons the mind to obscure reality of women. Feminism poisons the mind to obscure the reality of our women. Our women are living in a time now where they believe things that are not true. So how do you, in a sense, turn someone against their protector or turn someone against their ally? You obscure reality. You gaslight the hell out of the reality. That is what's going on in modern society. Okay? Poison the mind to obscure reality. That's what feminism has done. The other reason I believe feminism is the Antichrist. Feminism cannot achieve any of its agendas, none of its agendas or objectives, without making men the enemy. Do you hear what I'm saying? Feminism cannot achieve any of its agendas without making men the enemy. All right. If it was truly about equality, you would not have to mention men at all. All right. If it was truly good for women and truly about empowerment, you shouldn't mention men at all. But it cannot achieve its objective without making men the enemy of women. All right. And I got some points I want to debate. I want to invite men and women to join the panel when you come up, because there's some points I want to debate with you on that. Thirdly, and this is most important to me, all right, feminism destroyed the nuclear family. If you want to know about me and what my allegiances are, I'm definitely not pro woman. I'm not even pro man. I am pro family. If you see me on YouTube attacking something, attacking an idea, an ideology, or a talking point, that talking point is most likely anti-family. Anti-family building, anti-family structure, anti-husband, anti-wife, anti-child, anti-nuclear family. That's what I'm about. Now, I'm about family. I attack those narratives that are anti-family. All right. So it has our women thinking that they're better off alone and that they're better off creating families absent of male influence, which leaves the room for their minds to be infected. All right. When the protector of your home is gone, when there is no male ideology or philosophy to preside over your children's minds, that they become infected with BS. All right. That's why I believe wholeheartedly that feminism is the Antichrist. I want anyone who wants to come onto the panel right now, go ahead, click the link at the top of the chat. All right. Click that link at the top of the chat and go ahead and come in and discuss why you believe, yes or no, yay or nay, why feminism is the Antichrist or not. I'd really love to hear some of y'all views on this. All right, but I'll keep going, keep talking till I can get some people in here. Also, if you want to support the channel, definitely come. I'm a brand new channel. I got some good ideas out here, man. Support the channel using the Cash App down below or throw me a super chat. I'd appreciate that. All right. I want to say what's up to my Facebook fam. A lot of y'all in the house. I know y'all will be sliding through. I hit y'all at a time where, you're probably doing a lot of family stuff. I deal with a lot of family oriented people. I want to grow my fan base from there. But yes, feminism is the Antichrist. And I need y'all to understand that turning women against their men is literally the worst thing you can do. One of the undeveloped ideologies that I have on this particular point, or one of the undeveloped opinions that I have, is how do men fight back against something without eradicating it? Throughout our history, right? You cannot infect the men enough. You can't do it. So you got to think. People will say, "Oh, you cannot preside. One ruler cannot preside over men without men resisting. You'd have to kill us because we resist. 1 million rise, 1 million rise against. That's how it would work if you try to infect men with an ideology. We will rise up against it. But if you infect our women, if you turn them against us, the people we love most, how do we fight back without killing them? Y'all see what I'm saying? I just realized something. Oh snap! I'm dressed like a. I know some of y'all thought this was a damn pastor type thing. It's not. Or I'm sorry, a priest outfit. Damn, I didn't realize I look like that with this topic. I'm not a priest. But all right, so just tell me, how do men fight back without eradicating the source? How do we fight back without eradicating our women? You cannot fight back against an ideology that way, and the person that practices the ideology. All right. Traditionally, men have risen up and just killed those in power. Can't do that this time, right? I'm gonna pull up my man Dark Lake. What's going on, Chief?
Hey, what's up? Can you hear me?
Yeah, man.
Hey, I just want to say congratulations on your new show, and I'm honored to be a part of the premiere, bro.
Oh, thank you, man. You know, small things early, but we're gonna get it. I appreciate that. You know, I'm a big fan. And you come through with the smoke. And so, you know, the way I'm gonna start off, the way I'm gonna do my thing, man, we're gonna punch people in the mouth because you know how I get down. If we have an issue in society, all right, it's not gonna be polite. The answer, the fix for it, it's not gonna be polite or palatable. It's not gonna taste good to the people, right? So I feel like you embody that type of energy where it's like, oh, y'all thought that I was gonna say something and it was gonna be palatable to you if it's really a change agent. No, it's not. So that's why I'm usually on your side when it's like, you may not have liked the delivery, so that they want to harp on that, right? They want to harp on the delivery, but they'll think about the message later. So I'm always forward thinking with that. I use a bit of foresight in that sense and say,
Yeah, I noticed. I really noticed that about you, bro. And you know, I was speaking to Angry Man quite a bit recently, and the thing is that I have this idea that no matter what a man says, right, there's always going to be some sort of lose-lose scenario that's attached to that, right? If you mostly agree with the pro-woman objective, there's the issue of you being a simp. If you don't agree and you project your opinion, then you hate women and you're misogynist. You know what I mean? So I feel like most men, like if you want to say that because I'm projecting my opinion and it's contrary to yours, that I'm toxic and I embody toxic masculinity, then you know what? It's just gonna have to be that, because I kind of feel like there's some attributes of toxic masculinity, if they want to categorize it in that fashion, that is there to protect your family, your inner circle, and the people that you care about. And those are attributes that I think that women are doing themselves a disservice as they don't experience those certain attributes of men because they're following this pro-woman feminist agenda. And a lot of times it's subconscious. It's not even, they don't even know they're doing it. It's like they're just programmed to do it. You know what I mean? I wanted to answer your question or the topic on. You're making argument that feminism is antichrist, right?
Oh, you're breaking up, bro. I couldn't hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Oh, okay. I said you're making the argument. Okay, great. You're saying you're making the argument that feminism is the antichrist, right?
Yep.
So I would say that I think feminism is a tool of the antichrist. And I say that because the way that God set it up is most high man, woman, child, right? So the man is above the woman, pertaining to the objectives in life that God set forth for people in general. And that shows that or ideology that's anti-family or it's anti-God, and pointing to what the Antichrist wants to do is to bring people down. If you want to buy the Antichrist as an actual entity, and I don't see a way they try to do that without breaking down the family structure.
Hey,
And
do
so
me a favor.
breaking down the family structure.
The power down your video, and maybe I can hear you better. You're coming through robot voice.
Oh, okay. Maybe I'll just.
Yeah, power down your video. Let's see if that works. That usually helps with the bandwidth. All right, but yeah, I definitely understand what he was saying. So listening in the chat. All right, Sugar Bum says, without feminism, hold on, I'm new to this. All right, so Sugar Bum says, this is hard to listen to, can barely understand the robot voice. That's not really what I wanted to show. Without feminism, women would still be subject to authority and abuse. So, Sugar Bum, you give me a lot of smoke, but you know what? I'm here for it. As long as it keeps the conversation going forward. So, I don't believe that. So, I want you to ask yourself a question. In the Black community specifically, I want you to ask yourself a question. What law have Black men written to oppress you? I will wait. If you want to come on here and let me know, what law did Black men write to oppress you? All right, subject to authority and abuse. The reason I can't get with that is because we are all subject to authority. The abuse thing, I believe, is a lie. And feminism, in the sense that we're talking about, don't you watch the news every day or see that abuse is still happening, whether feminism is here or not? It is something that individual people are subject to by other individual people. I do not believe feminism did anything for women outside of, like I said, obscure their reality. Women still want the same things. You still want the same things, even though you believe you are empowered. All right. It would be one thing. So I don't really believe feminism did anything for women in the workplace. Every law, every advancement that women got was because men thought you should have it. So when you look at like basically what Jordan Peterson said, life was suffering. Life is suffering. Your ability to do life well matters on how well you can stave off suffering. All right. So when people say women didn't work back in the day or all of this, we didn't have the technology for women to work. People worked on what is equivalent, if you adjust for inflation, people lived on less than $1 a day and still had children. There was no two people working. It was one man going out to provide for his family. All right. So this whole notion of women being subject to authority and abuse from who? The women, unfortunately, have taken the worst stories our history has to offer and apply it to all men. Those are small, very small minority of occurrences that you took. And like I said in my opening, all right, not only did feminism obscure your reality, it is the Antichrist because it turns you against your men, the very men who did not do anything to abuse you. Even today, the average man is just working to take care of his family. Men still want families. We just want cooperative women to create those families with. All right. So let me go ahead and but Sugar Bomb, you know, I appreciate you. And when we talk about these things, I want you to know that I'm never I don't take the smoke personally, or I don't take the trolling and none of that personally. So keep it coming. You see what I'm saying? Like, you are literally, you have stake in this thing that we're doing. All right. In order to have an opinion, we got to have an opposing opinion. Okay. So I commend you, you know, for always sticking around. Even right now, I believe you are supporting. So thank you for that. Thank you for stopping by. Let me highlight another comment. All right. So Sugar Bum, you also said feminism was needed, still is. I don't believe it's needed. Right now, I want Sugar Bum, I'm gonna ask you a question. I want you to put it in the chat. Give me 5 advancements that have occurred because of feminism for women that would not have occurred if feminism wasn't around. Like, give me 5 pros of feminism, and we're gonna debate here. And if you want to come on, of course, click the link at the top of the chat. But give me 5 pros to having feminism around. All right. I'd love to see that. Anybody. In fact, if you have a pro for feminism, go ahead and put it in the chat and let me know. Put it in the chat. Let me know what you think a pro of feminism was. All right. What's up? I see Ricky in here. Oh, my man, Ricky Williams. What's going on, bro? Thank you for supporting. Cy H, thank you for supporting. Olu, think I know who you I think I know where you're from. What's up, my guy? Raheem Ali, what's going on, Chief? Anti-bastard breeder. I appreciate the love. Dark Lake, if you come back up, please let me know. You know, I enjoy talking to you. All right, but on that topic, let me bring up. How you doing, sir?
Hey, how's it going, Trigger Mike?
Oh, all is well. Thank you for joining me on the first stream on the premiere.
Yeah, this is a very interesting topic.
Yes, sir.
I've been like your intro. I'm also kind of new to these YouTube streets. Trying to think about putting myself out there as well.
Yeah.
And there's certain people that I tend to focus in on a little bit more, and it's same similar lines of what you're thinking. I too myself am a father. I got 2 daughters. So I kind of position myself to kind of understand what it is that young people are thinking when it comes related to marriage, and relationships and this kind of thing. Because quite frankly, there's a lot of things that I'm quite confused about, and I haven't had a lot of discussions with my daughters, but one thing I'm willing to admit from what I'm starting to understand, that there's maybe some things that I've told them that maybe I have contributed to this idea of modern women. Okay, because I am from the Gen X. I'm a Gen Xer, so I have a millennial and I have a Zoomer. And so, listening to these young folks, that's what I try to do, because they have a voice, and I don't want. I try to stand apart from these OGs that want to, lay the law down. I've been down that road with my daughters, and it's pretty much tended to alienate them. So I'm in the process of trying to improve my relationship. Not to say that I don't have a relationship with my daughters, but to improve it, to kind of be more attentive to what it is that their wants and needs, that kind of thing. But back on the topic, that's just a little intro on my background. I find this very interesting, but here's the thing: I don't have a lot of background when it comes to these terms. I have a little bit, I have some college. So when you talk about feminism, and then you want to equate it to a type of antichrist, an archetype of antichrist, right? I don't know. For me, I'm over here. I'm listening to what you're saying. Plus, I'm on the Britannica page trying to understand what feminism is at the same time. Because I hear a lot of things that are said about what feminism is, and quite frankly, I also listening to some experts, like from Joe Rogan would have some of these same people come on. I think there was some stuff with Steven Crowder would have certain feminists that would be part of the men's rights movement, that kind of thing, which is interesting because that's a different angle. Because there's women that call themselves feminists, but not all feminists are a monolith when it comes to what that means. You know what I'm saying? Because at one time, feminism had a line with liberalism, true liberalism, where they were trying to do more things. And correct me if I'm wrong, where they were trying to minimize the amount of hours, so men could spend more time with their families, that kind of thing, and having less women work hours in the workforce or trying to improve the pay, these kind of things. Of course, you had the women's suffrage movement, right? That's the first wave of feminism, right?
Yeah.
So second wave was equal, I guess it had to do with the workforce, like equal pay, that kind of thing. Third wave feminism, I can't even recognize what that is.
That's I think we're in third wave. We're in third wave.
You know what I'm saying? I think before we go down this road, we'd have to define what these terms are so people can be speaking from the same point of reference.
Absolutely. So as far as feminism is what I'm talking about first, second, and third. I'm talking about the build up to, but what I'm really, thank you for bringing that up, because I use the term generally, right? But what I'm talking about is radical feminism. Radical feminism is the Antichrist. So chat ninjas, correct me if I'm wrong, but a feminist is a person who believes in equality of the sexes. And feminism is, is somewhere around that same definition. But now we've propelled it into a sense of radical feminism. So the interesting thing about third wave feminism is that even though the aims and goals of the first two waves have kind of been debunked and ran their course, they're using those narratives as they still exist today against men, right? So when you talk about equal pay and the gender pay gap, those things have now been proven that they don't exist. They do not exist, right? But they're using those narratives to try to pierce through and obscure the reality for women so they can win at an agenda, so that they can win an agenda all their own. That's really what I'm talking about. It is third wave feminism, but more so radical feminism. All right. So what do you feel about the term that has women thinking or saying things such as, I don't need a man? These are common terms you hear from the modern radical feminists.
Yeah, is that misandry? What are we talking? I'd have to ask this person, what do they mean? Do they hate men? You know what I mean? Is that coming from a place of hate towards men?
That's an excellent question. I believe the modern woman doesn't respect men.
Okay, because there's a lot of people that speak big on these YouTube streets. But if you catch them on the street, right? And I'm talking about when there's no camera there, and you really gotta, try to understand a person, and you truly want to talk to a person. I don't know. I think that a lot of that has to do with, like I said, it's just out here on YouTube, because people talk this way, but people are still getting together. You know what I'm saying? People are still getting married. So the level of what's the word I'm looking for? Hype, I guess, or urgency. It can be quite exaggerated on social media. A lot of things are exaggerated on social media. So yeah, I take that with a grain of salt. But regardless, if this is what people are talking about and it's interesting to talk about, and we actually want to come down to some solutions, I'm all about that. But I have to talk to the person, really get to understand, well, where is this coming from? Why do you feel this way? What happened in your life where you feel that you don't need a man? What does that mean? I mean, do you want to go through life and not recognizing that men are all around you, that help you in ways that you don't understand?
Absolutely.
That people take for, there's this idea of like if you want to be Christian, you gotta that only people that believe in God have faith. I totally disagree with that. We put our faith in a lot of things without even understanding what that even means. To the simplest fact that, for example, that if you if you're not a person that's obese and like you're not 600, 700 pounds, right? You go to sit down on a chair every day. You take it by faith that chair is going to hold you up. But if you're an 800, 900 pound person, you're not going to have a lot of faith. You're going to have to test these chairs. I've seen some embarrassing things on TikTok where people sit on certain chairs and they didn't test the chair because they have to think that way. But for most people, they just take it for granted. They just live by the faith, the fact that, the chairs hold me up. You know what I mean? I drive every day and I feel like I'm not going to get in an accident because I'm a good driver. And I've never been in an accident for 30 years. I just take it by faith. See what I mean? So the idea that that people are living this way, that they don't need a person, they don't need a man, and then you have to look around you that there are things that men and women in general, all of this stuff that we have around us, we take it for granted, and it's there, and it gives our life, makes our life easier. See what I mean?
Mhm.
And so the thing that we have to get back to, I think, is just having face to face interactions with people. You
Oh,
know,
absolutely. But
even if it's done in this manner, where it's done, you know, on the internet, but at least I can see your face. I can understand your facial expressions. I can get a sense of the
you feel the
emotion
emotion.
of the
Yeah, yeah.
things and the passions that you're trying to say. But that is still a barrier to some extent, because you have the keyboard warriors. They're going to come up there. They don't care, right? They don't think they can be touched, so they can say anything they want to you, right? Acting just so, what's the word that these young folks say? Goofy,
Mhm.
just goofy, just doing anything and acting any kind of way because you can't be touched. But see, all of that talk goes out the window when you try to watch people interact in real life. I've met. I think I overheard a conversation with Anton Daniels. Because
Mhm.
I'm around in the Lapeef. I'm like lurking in the background, listening to all of that stuff. I'm seeing a trend that's happening here. That he's doing some phenomenal things over there, right? Him and Lapeef. And they talk about, yeah, we would hang with certain people, and you see them in real life, they're not that same kind of person. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? All that bravado and all that kind of stuff is crazy to me. So I'm like, okay, let's see. I'm always looking. I'm actually trying to find real people, like real people that are really trying to portray themselves in an authentic way, and actually trying to find solutions to things.
I mean, who
But
knows
but
if you're
not
gonna
but
find
not
them
that
on YouTube?
but not that I don't like to be entertained. Okay,
Mhm.
because a lot of this stuff I look this is just to entertain myself, honestly. But occasionally I'll run into certain people like yourself that are saying some things that grabs my attention.
Mhm.
Okay,
Yeah.
but they're far and few between, because it's not full of drama. It doesn't create a train wreck, because people are attracted to that chaos.
So on the topic, see, look at this sugar bomb. Look at this. These men cannot financially control me. So when I'm talking about feminism or radical feminism, these are the this is what it pushes. Who is trying to financially control you? Do you see what I'm saying? So I referenced that Jordan Peterson said that life was suffering, and that 100 years ago people were living off, or 150 years ago people were living off what equated to less than $1 a day. All right. So men have always and continue to work to maintain their family. That's all we've ever done. And when you look progressively throughout time, women began to come into the picture as technology advanced. Okay. It's not that men were holding you back, it was that you were suffering so bad from your periods that you didn't want to present to any workplace. It was that nobody could watch your kids, and medical care wasn't advanced enough to stitch you up after you had that baby for you to walk straight. There are these things that happen in society. As technology advanced, so did women. And technology was created by who? That's why I don't really like the fact that people rail against, like, blame it on men. That is what feminism has done. Just blame everything on men. If you need an enemy, in us for to advance our cause, remember, feminism always makes men the enemy. It cannot achieve any of its objectives without doing that. All right. So that is one of the reasons I say feminism is the Antichrist. Dark Lake, what's
Well,
going on, Chief? Welcome back.
Hey, can you hear me better now?
Yeah, I can.
Okay, great. No, I was just I don't know if anyone heard me, but what I was trying to say was that God set it up as the most high man, woman, child. So, in comparison, right, anything that goes against that is the Antichrist or a tool of the Antichrist. So if you try to devalue men in society or devalue man in family, the way that God set it up, it's just a direct indicator that that's not of God. And if it's not of God, it's anti.
Yep.
Yes, sir. Yeah, and I like the fact that you use the word devalue. You know, because I'm finding that there's not people that this generation doesn't seem to value marriage and relationships. But it goes back to how do you where do you get this thinking? Where does it come from? Like, why do you think this way? Like, why?
Well,
how were you brought up to think this way? Was it? Where did you learn this? Did you learn this from the school, from college, your parents? The way that your parents, maybe you was in a dysfunctional situation. I want to know. I want to get down to the brass tacks. For example, when that person that posted that, what did they post? It said, "A man can't control me financially." Well, are you running in? Is there a lot of men that are trying to control your finances? You know, why? Why is that happening to you? I don't want nobody controlling my finances either. You know, so that's what I want to do. I want to get down to it. Like, where is this coming from? Why are people?
Well, you mentioned one of the places that it's coming from. So if you'll notice, men in general are now absent of colleges and universities. So our influence, the topics we like, radical feminism is what is present in most universities. That's where people get their liberalism from, their liberal ideology. So that's actually proven. All right. College educated women are basically responsible for third wave feminism as we know it today. All right. It's the college educated woman of all ethnicities that is pushing this radical feminist agenda forward. All right. So that is where a bulk of it is coming from. And, I said something the other day about another show. I won't mention her name, but what it has done essentially is and it's not that women shouldn't be present in any of the platforms. If you'll notice, whenever a woman says, I deserve to be here, men just say, okay. You know what I mean? So it's not as if we're holding women back from anything. But one of the issues is that it wants to portray women as powerful. All right. So that is the infectious nature of feminism. And remember, you have to think that power, as it relates to women, or leadership as it relates to women, cannot really coexist with men because we're naturally more powerful. So it has to be absent of male leadership and power. That's why they're trying to push us out of the way. That's a natural tension that's going to happen. Anytime a woman wants to portray herself as powerful, who is immediately standing in her way? A man.
The Hulk.
Exactly. My voice is deeper than yours. I'm bigger than you. I'm stronger than you. You cannot push that dynamic of power in my presence. So you have to get rid of me in order to do so and push your radical feminist agenda, which you may have learned in college. You understand where I'm going with that?
Yeah.
So
and, hey,
that's
Mike,
where it comes from.
And Mike and DJ, what you were saying was like, I want to know where this is coming from. Did you go to a school and take a class that instilled these ideals in you? And my thing is, it's mostly simulation and propaganda that is pushed through the media, right? Because the actress of the new Snow White movie that's going to come out got in trouble the other day. She experienced major backlash because she made a tweet that said, this version of the Snow White movie is going to prove that a woman doesn't have to just sit in a castle and wait for a man to rescue her. So that new movie that's going to come out, Snow White, it's going to project this notion that somehow a man wanting to rescue a woman in a castle or a woman who's asleep is that man subjugating the woman. You feel what I'm saying?
I've seen stuff, variations of that same thing. Yeah.
Right. So when you have projects like these being pushed into society, right, then it makes it to where, because ultimately I think men want to be righteous. And if you have messages in society that's projecting this sort of simulacra that is basically saying, if you are that way as a man, if you have that motivation as a man, then that's toxic masculinity, that's monstrous, and that's controlling. then a lot of the younger generation of men growing up are gonna want to exist in society opposite of that notion. So,
Yep.
and you even said yourself earlier, DJ, you said with your daughters, you think that you may have contributed to the whole pro-woman feminist thing. What did you mean by that exactly, if you don't mind me asking?
Oh, okay. Let's see. I pushed them to be like to have sort of like a mainly it's critical thinking. That's what I felt I'm pushing them towards. But there's certain things I said like, okay, listen, you need to go out there, get educated, uh, get a good job, that kind of thing. Be able to take care of yourself. You know what I mean?
And
But
you
there
said
is,
this.
but because of my particular forms of beliefs, I did put this to them, and this is something that, and this is how I raised them. Right? Is that the only thing that I ask of you? Right? And you and here's the thing: I was one of those dads. They stayed in my house like they were quite old, right? And I didn't have no problem with it. I think my daughters. I got a 31-year-old and I have a 25-year-old, and they didn't finally get out of the house until 3 years ago. But I had this. This was the only stipulation I had, is that you can stay here as long as you want. But the thing is that I asked you to find a good Christian man, right? Actually go out and actively find someone, right? And prepare yourself to be that type of person, right? Yourself. You know what I'm saying? It's always based around Christian principles. But the thing about it is pushing them and trying to be independent, as far as like try to take care of yourself, right? And get educated. That's the only aspect I could think of.
Yeah, and there was a reason why you felt the need to give them that message, right? To direct them in that way. Because that's a part of it is you just want the best for your daughters, but another part of it is information that you were fed by society, by propaganda, by subliminal messages that didn't want your daughters to be, and correct me if I'm wrong, because I might be wrong about this, right? But didn't want your daughters to be subjected to the ill will of a man, right?
So I think some of that in the back of my mind was there, is that, but it was more of the aspect of like, if something happens in your relationship and the man cannot provide, you'll have skills to be able to take care, and take up the slack, and then if it becomes to a point where, the relationship dissolves, you could still take care of yourself.
But see,
but how does that translate?
I think that's fair justification for how you directed them. However, my thing is, and I'm not saying that you felt like this about your daughters or that men with daughters feel this way. What I'm saying is, women of old, right? 40s, 50s time, have fathers or people in general lost faith in the ability of women? Because back in the day, it wasn't just in case you meet a toxic man, or just in case you meet a man who doesn't have his wherewithal, who can't compete in society, be independent and do this. That thought process wasn't really like around back then. So do people believe on a subconscious level that a woman's ability to operate with a man in society has dwindled? Because it's like an extra thought that is in the minds of women that wasn't in the minds of women before, or instilled in the minds of women before. So now this new generation of men have to then be confronted by that extra thought process.
Okay, so maybe the pendulum has swung too far one way, and it's not with just this topic alone, but even when it comes to like civil rights, race relations, that kind of thing. What is it that a black man can't do that a white person can't do in this country? You know what I mean? And so you have a lot of OGs, when they come up here, they're still trying to bring it back to the old days of Jim Crow, this kind of thing, this kind of talking point. And all these young cats are like, man, that's been such a long time ago that I don't even feel that what you're talking about. You know what I mean? And maybe there's a sense of that as well with this same similar topic. Because if you look at what was the circumstances that led up to the laws changing, okay, because I think World War II affected the home, right? Because you had all these men were gone. So the women had to take up that slack, right? And of course you had kids too, right? Because then you had to make some child labor laws, right? Because children were working in these factories, and had women have to do the same thing. Then you come back to baby boom. Then you had the baby boomer generation, right? And it's all about hard work and all this kind of stuff. But then that's when you had a lot of the nuclear family, right? During that time frame. Okay, but then the women had, there was limited as far as, I guess, women's rights at that time. They couldn't vote, that kind of thing, right? They got to a point where women could vote. Then you got women that now they want equal. Is it equality now, or is it equity? Okay, there's a difference, right?
They don't know. They don't know.
I would like to, I would like to respond to Sugar Bum's comment, if that's okay, Mike.
Yeah.
Sugar Bum said, Mike, what else can y'all do? Y'all being replaced by machines. Now, that is a couple of different messages in one that she's putting. She's talking about the workforce, but she's also talking about the need for men in relationships, in my opinion. So, Sugar Bum, this is what I'll tell you. Yes, we know that you can go get a vibrator, but you know what we also know? That when you put that vibrator down after you finish using it, you cry because there's not a warm body next to you. We know that too.
I was thinking something entirely different from what you just said.
Yeah, but let me add to that. So, Sugar Bum comes in. She throws a lot of this stuff around, but like I said, everybody's opinion is valid, but this stuff needs to be combated, and it needs to be combated by us. Sugar Bum, what I want you to know, and this is one of the things, when you ask a woman what a man is for, she is going to give you answers that basically sum up to protection and provision. And what I don't like in these YouTube streets is when men try to explain what protection is, because very rarely are men are going to have to use this to protect their woman. So women can easily discredit that. But what I want you to understand in today's day and age, as this economy gets worse and the fallout that you've seen from this pandemic, what you are now seeing is a kind of steady bedlam starting to occur. Let me just use the example of like kidnapping. When a child is kidnapped, how often are they kidnapped from their father? No one knows, because it just doesn't happen. That's what protection means. That is what men are for. Y'all have forgotten our purpose. I am enough just standing there next to you.
Damn.
That is your protection.
And create a hard target.
Ain't that the truth?
Do you understand?
Creating a hard target.
The funny thing is, the last person I told this to, well, what if it's a small man? That man will try to take a man's child from him. He will turn God body in a second and pull your brain out through your eyes. Men know inherently not to mess with other men like that. We don't test each other like that. That is what protection is. Me standing, my presence alone is enough. That is what we do, and why we cannot be replaced by machines.
So, I mean, we have men that are sent off to fight wars. We have to sign up for the selective service. We don't. There's somebody I heard this today about the argument of like, my body, my choice, and and the person say, well, you're killing somebody. It's a person that you're killing, right? And you have a choice to do that, to kill that person or not. When you sign up for selective service, you don't have a choice as a man. You have to sign up, and you're signing up for the possibility of death in a war. You don't have a choice. So that's not my body, my choice when it comes to that.
Do you know?
So a lot of women are pushing back about signing up for selective service, right? So if it's all about being equal and equal equity and all this kind of stuff, so why aren't more women signing up for these type of jobs? So it's in positions of power, and it has to do with stuff that not necessarily translates to things that you do with your hands. It's more like your speech, and being able to influence people. If anything, women are good at that. That is a skill, call it manipulation, call it what you want, but women have an intuition and a way to be able to do this, whether it be using their feminism or femininity, right? Or be able to destroy a person just by their speech.
Absolutely. Let me respond to this comment really quickly. Chris Norwood says men only protect assets, so if you're not getting it, look in the mirror. This is actually very profound to me. So I understand that in certain communities, such as ours, that is the common narrative. Men don't protect anything. Men inherently protect women and children. So I would liken this to something I saw a few summers ago in New York City. There was a video of a woman walking outside of a hotel, and some dude just started wailing on her. Like, he didn't know her. He was obviously a stranger. Started beating her up. And all the dudes inside the hotel looked and didn't do anything and minded their business. What that said to me is that we're at a time in society where men, because of the way what feminism has done, recognize women as someone who does not need to be protected any further. What went through all of those men's mind at the same time is, I don't need a man. I don't need you to protect me. I don't need you to open the door for me. So they stared at her and all of them minded their business. That is the danger that feminism has brought. That goes into me saying feminism is the Antichrist. Men who are inherently going to protect, right? So this is a grown woman I'm talking about. Do you think men would stand there and let a child get beat up by a grown man? No.
No.
It's not in us. Naturally, we would we might beat them to death. We might be going to jail for that, right? But it's women now. And the reason I want to make this distinction, right? Because this is New York, where people are kind of, rough around the edges and all of that. What I have noticed in our society is that men only protect feminine women now. We have to recognize you as someone worthy of our protection. All right. So I look at it on these panels. People say, women are saying all the time that, oh, you're cutting me off. Oh, you're doing this. I'm a woman. Women always want to play that card after they've crossed into that masculine boundary. The women that stay feminine, we make way for them every time. We recognize them naturally. Don't we push each other out of the way for a feminine woman to speak? Hey, hold up, dog. Let her get her word in. We do that naturally. So like Chris said, we only protect assets, not liabilities. So thank you for that one, Chris.
Well, in that scenario, right, I've also seen, I think it was 2020 or something, where, you had a couple getting into an altercation and, and it turns physical. First, they have the woman as the guy as the abuser. And there were a lot of men that were, and women that were stepping up to put an end to it. But they did the reverse. They had the woman as the abuser. And then it was just like, they were laughing. Oh, look at that guy, weak, that kind of thing. So this whole idea of that we're going to be treated equally, I just think people should just do what's right. If you see something like that and it's wrong, then you have the ability to do something about it. Doesn't matter what they are, woman, whatever, the sexual orientation, just help if you can help. That's it. I think just common decency has gone out the window.
It has.
You know what I mean? Just courtesy, saying hello. If you want to open a door for someone, now it's like, okay, now you gotta, you feel awkward. Like, okay, should I open it? Because then I'm like pandering. What do I do? So now y'all like, I'm just gonna be me, and I always try to be kind and polite as much as I can. And just hopefully that rubs off on people, because there's not a lot of that. You know what I mean? There's not a lot of that. And what's weird is like, I'll go and say hello to people. They'll be like, oh, what, when you selling something? What are you saying to me? No, I just want to say hello and say, compliment you on what you're wearing today. You look very smart looking, very nice, something like that. People are they can't even take a compliment,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I'll say this too. One thing that I notice pertaining to like a narrative is this idea that especially Black women, they like to project this idea that they're not going to respect anyone unless they're sleeping with them and that's their man. But my issue with that is it's like, okay, I find that society has expectations on men, but it has no expectations on women. So if it's like the example that Trigger Mike was using about protecting women in public, society has an expectation on every man for the most part that if a woman is being assaulted near you, you go and you protect her and you help her, right? It's something that it's almost innate within men at this point, because that's a weaker being than you, that you will go and protect, and society has that expectation. But why is it that society can't put the expectation on women to respect men as they're out and about in public? You feel what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I have to be that woman's man to just get like decent, like just respect.
And in a sense, now I don't know if you listened to my opening monologue, but remember I told you I basically posed the question. Throughout history, you can't really poison men to the point of pure destruction, because you'll always have men that rise up against each other or against the powers that be, right? So it doesn't matter how long we're oppressed. If 3 million men out of 5 say, we're not taking this no more, we're going to topple whatever we don't like. We're going to topple the government. We're going to overtake it, whatever, what have you. That's why I said feminism is the Antichrist. If you poison our women, who we love most, throughout history, whatever we don't like as far as ideology is concerned, we have eradicated it. Men have the ability to kill, and we will. We have a real dilemma when we're talking about eradicating the ideology of feminism, because it would mean we need to eradicate our women. That to me is very deep, and people need to think. That is why I say it's the Antichrist. That is the one problem men cannot fix, at least not easily. You understand what I'm saying? So
I would actually have to disagree with you on that one, Trigger Mike.
Mm-hmm.
I think that this feminism, this Antichrist we're talking about, I feel like if you change the atmosphere, the environment pertaining to like the thought process of men maneuvering this whole feminist society, women know how to resort back to their female nature. They can say we're equal all we want, right? But if every man decided that when I'm in a relationship, if we hear a bump in the night by the front door, I'm not getting up to go see what it is. Women would fight back against that. Their female nature would then kick in, because they know that the probability of them surviving if they go check to see what that noise was is decreased. The probability of them surviving is decreased. So I feel like it's going to take some sort of concerted effort amongst men to change the thought process that, like you say, if we attempt to eradicate it, we have to eradicate the women. I think that we just have to eradicate the ideology. And when they don't have that covering of the ideology, they'll resort back to their female nature, and we won't have to eradicate them.
So
that's what I think.
Eliminating that ideology would have to be removing women from positions of power, because that comes with the ideology.
Yeah. So this is where it starts to get interesting. So now this is interesting dialogue. The hardest thing to remove, you remember, people keep an ideology there pretty much the entire.
And I'm not saying that's the goal, but I mean, this is what you have to deal with.
Exactly. So how do you now undo what's been done? So I do agree with you, Dark Lake. Women that's actually what their superpower is. They're able to escape back to being women. That's the one thing that they have over men. When they are done with this, and this is something men that we call simps have to deal with, they have to kind of take into their mind all this pseudo power, because women don't create their own power. They have the proxy power of men, right? Once they're done with it, they're just going to lay it back at your feet and say, too much for me. They always get to retreat back to being a woman.
Right.
And say, nope, I'm just going to stay in the house. I'm going to take care of the kids. But now what you're talking about, Dark Lake, when you say remove an ideology, you have to understand that men created feminism, and men are actually the ultimate beneficiaries of feminism. That Woman King movie may have been produced by women, but it was distributed by companies owned by men. You see what I'm saying? We are the ultimate beneficiaries. Or I'm sorry, well, a few men are the ultimate beneficiaries of feminism. So they will push, and like you said, push the propaganda out as long as it's profitable. Okay, so how do you undo what's already been done? That's why we have such a hard time with women now, because they've tasted power. They've tasted a little bit of it, and they don't want to give it up. I don't believe it's possible to eradicate at the engine that's been created behind feminism, and with social media behind it. I don't believe it's possible to remove that ideology.
I'd have to ask somebody like if there's an agenda or behind this. Say okay, so you're a professor and you teach women's studies, okay, in college, and with that comes teaching the teachings of feminism, right? And the history behind it, right? Is there a what is the end goal look like? Like what does right look like? Same thing that when people talk about at what point do we get to a point where we say that race relations has finally hit the pinnacle of integration and everything, and we're all getting along, kumbaya? What does that look like? And I posed this to somebody. I said this. I can speak on one theory I have when it comes to racism. Is that when you go to a prison and people have de facto integrated without not law. Gangs don't have any, like you go into a prison and people have naturally started coming together regardless of race. Because if you want to see true racism, go to a prison. All right? You see what I'm saying? And it's surrounded by gangs. So to me, that's like the microcosm of a more macro problem. Mm-hmm. So I could say to you that if I could go into a prison and it's no longer there, then maybe we've come to a point where we've reached the promised land. So that's the same thing I would say to a person that believes in feminism. What does that look like? 50-50? Representation of 50-50 everywhere? Is that your goal too? Is that your goal? Just the appearance? Or is it also backed by competent people? Because I wouldn't mind it being 50-50 if there's 50% competent people on both sides.
So this is actually the interesting dilemma, okay? There are places that are not America, that are in Europe, in the Scandinavian region of the world, where I guess equality of outcome. You can't say so. Equality of outcome, which is equity, is the purpose of the law. Okay, it's the purpose of the law to make everything equal between men and women. And it has been documented that it actually exacerbates the differences between us. So what you're really saying is impossible. The same thing, the stupidest thing I've ever seen was right after the George Floyd stuff, and they had end racism on everything. How the hell do you end racism? It's the stupidest statement ever. You see what I'm saying? But it's impossible to reach equality of outcome, because if you leave men and women alone, right now it's propaganda marketed to them. It's propaganda marketed to women that they should be engineers. It's propaganda marketed to them that they should be computer technicians and all of this stuff. It's not what they want. That is what we see in America. So when you give them equality and freedom of choice to choose for themselves, they choose more feminine things and men choose more masculine things. Women become more nurses, more stay-at-home moms, more all of this stuff. So that's what it looks like.
Remember that study? Yeah, that egalitarian study. It was some Nordic countries.
They will choose. You see what I'm saying? They think equality of outcome is saying, right? Let me give you another statistic. In 2015,
well, you can't use those stats though, because there wasn't enough there was too many white people in those countries.
Well, it's really just a men and women thing. It's really a men and women thing.
I'll give you another one.
I'll give you another one. They've spent, I think, to this point, billions of dollars. The Department of Defense marketing women in the infantry. I think you remember the conversation popping up around 2015.
Yeah.
All right. Today, 2022, I believe this is the last numbers I've seen on it. 55,000 men have joined the Army and Marine infantry units. All of that money spent, and say women, you can now join the infantry. 687 women have joined.
Really?
That is just over 1% of the infantry after billions of dollars. Now, I'm a former hospital corpsman, Greenside, which means I was attached to the Marine Corps. Women need their own facilities. They have to be apart from men. So to mobilize a female unit costs a lot of money. So them doing this, all those billions of dollars they were spending, was them prepping for that. Buying the facilities, buying the supplies, buying the tampons, getting the feminine products to the medics, like my people, to treat women and all of their medications so they could mobilize with the men when we needed to go fight. All of that for 687 women. Anybody, any business owner, any politician in any other country, what would they have said to that outcome? It's not worth it. $1 billion, 687 women. But because we're so intent on equality of outcome, we're willing to waste money on something that will never happen. Army and Marine infantry will never have as many women as it does men because they will not choose that for themselves. So that's where that equality argument. It's never.
Yeah, there's a lot of social experiments that go on in the military like that for sure. The thing is that I actually kind of my eyes were open to some of that though. I'll give you an example. I was in the Air Force. I was at an air show, and I was looking at the C-130. I think that's the one, the spooky, the Puff the Magic Dragon. The one that has all the guns, the gunship that loiters around a battlefield, and then they laser targets on the ground. Special forces, and then they drop, sabot rounds, all this kind of stuff. Right. This is a very high tech vehicle that has all this radar, night vision, heat thermal, all this stuff in there. Right. Well, in the back of the plane, there's a glass bubble, like an old World War II, glass bubble on the plane. I'm like, what is this here for? He says, oh, we put a person up there. For what? Oh, we give them night vision goggles, binoculars, and they look out the back. I said, what? You got all this technology? What? He says, it's still not good enough as the human eyeball. Right? And he says, matter of fact, we'll have a woman sit up there because there's the smaller statue. They can fit up in that little compartment and handle the hours a lot better, if there's a woman on board. And I was like, you have women on this thing? Yeah, of course, yeah. So
they're essentially R2D2.
So I'm like, well, what happens if the plane comes down? Hey man, they're in the battlefield. They're going to have to escape and evade just like all the rest of us. Yep, they're in the battlefield. They're doing combat role. Absolutely. I was astonished. I did not know that. You know what I mean? And so, is there a role for women to do certain type of jobs like that in the military? Possibly so. So I can't count it out. And if you want women to go into these more special operations, essentially what has to happen is that either you have to change the role or make find a role for women to fit into these special teams, right? Or you have to change the standards, or you have to keep them the same. And you keep them the same, a lot of women they're not going to be able to hack.
So yeah, this actually happened while I was just getting out, and a lot of my buddies that I chill with are still in the service. And the one thing, they're not really allowed to talk about this stuff, because of the political climate, but get them in private and they'll start saying things. And I told you the job that I did for the military. It is hell being a grunt corpsman, all right, attached to an infantry unit. It is hell, because what they put me through essentially is saying, you need to be able to carry the heaviest Marine off the battlefield. What?
Right.
You seen some of these jack dudes. So they would not, when I'm doing my exercises on fireman carry across 100-yard football field, they give me the biggest guy in the unit to do it with. So one of my friends used an example and said, you're going to give me a female corpsman that can't carry the biggest guy? No, thank you. They said, if they have no problem with women in the infantry, as long as they had their own units. Deploy with your own unit. Deploy with your own battalion. Do not mix us. Do not change the standards, because he used me as an example. He said the dude is, he's like 6'7", 290. So he gave the example. He said, this man carried me across the football field, back, forward, wrapped my leg, then carried me back. If you can't do that, I'm dead. So that's how they look at it. It has nothing to do with gender equality. It's about ability. That would frighten most military service members.
Okay, back to what was her name earlier? The one that was having a lot of the comments. What was her name? Sugar. What was her name?
Sugar Bump.
Sugar Bump. I would like to have her come up and join the conversation.
She's
I've seen her on other shows that she.
I don't know who she is, but I mean, here she made that statement about being replaced by machines, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And of course, I wasn't looking at like what you were saying, but here's a point. Here's an area where I could understand maybe her line of thinking. Maybe it's not. I'm in a sci-fi, and you know that the military is trying to design super soldiers, and using all kinds of robotics, right? And they have these things where you put a pack on, right, and you could lift 300 pounds and run 30 miles per hour. So at that point, male or female, technology can overrule all those type of thinking.
That is usually where
and they're working on this, actively working on. You can have robots in the battlefield that carry people.
As we previously stated, technology and the advancement of technology is where women usually gain their access in society. So that is irrefutable, right? So that's indisputable that they will actively be able to participate. We are going into an era where wars are no longer fought the same way. They won't be. They won't be fought on the battlefield. They'll be.
I want to be people. I want to be used.
Exactly. It'll be fought via drone and cyber attack, right? So we're looking at that in the future. But the funniest thing about that, the last intellectual discussion I had on this, look at these things that I just named: drones, cyber. Women are absent from those fields too. It's not necessarily what they want to do. There are companies, I believe last I heard, over 100 computer engineering companies that are literally discriminating against men in order to market to women. They are saying that because you're a woman, we want to pay you more to work for our company. Imagine if that was nursing.
Hey, this is pandering. This is valuable marketing. Because you're essentially just marketing to what the status quo is of today. If you can find some angle where your company intersects along all of the the lines of victimhood, right? It's profitable for your corporation.
But how do women expect to get the same respect in society that men get when everything that they do is geared to encouraging them to do that, giving them some sort of seniority that they didn't earn
that's ultimately
over men in society? If I know that there are 30
that's soft bigotry. That's soft bigotry of low expectation.
Yeah. If I know that there are 30 different programs that streamlines women into tech, but there are no programs that streamlines men into tech, when you become a software engineer, which is what I'm actually in school for right now, when you become a software engineer, it's like, yeah, that's great that you're that, but where were the programs for young men? There was all these scholarships and all this specifically geared toward women for their feminist agenda. So I don't care how much money you make annually, how many followers you have on Instagram. I'm not going to respect you as much as I would a man in that same position. You feel what I'm saying?
It tends to make you skeptical about the person that you're working beside, or, like the doctor or whatever, what kind of student were you? You a C student? You know what I mean? I want an A student working on my body, or this kind of thing. But I ultimately, I'm gonna take people one-on-one. I'm not gonna make those type of assumptions. I just want to see how you move and perform. At the end of the day, and if you're not performing, then that's not somebody I want in my circle.
So that's actually a segue into my next question. All right, did feminism destroy our boys? So I'm gonna speak on this first. What I don't like is something you just alluded to, Dark Lake, is that let's take unfortunately, let's use the Black community as an example. Do you guys find it interesting that in the same generations that the most Black women have received the most degrees and have gone to get the most education, we dwindled down to Black boys having a 3rd grade reading level? So those boys, and people don't make this correlation a lot, came from the same homes. They came from the same single mother's home. So the girl got pushed to educational advancement. while the boy fell down statistically to a third grade reading level. That's a statistic. That's an actual fact. All right. So do you think feminism destroyed our boys? Like in their chances in life?
Did you want to go, DJ?
No, go ahead. Go
I
ahead.
think that I will say this. Obviously, there are certain statistics in our society, like, if you're raised by a single mother, and the Black demographic, if you're raised by a single mother, the likelihood of you going to prison like increases by how many percent? I don't know exactly. I have to research that, but it is a thing.
Like 80. Well, that's not the statistic. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, you can correct me on that later. But what I'll say is, Trigger Mike, why y'all don't care about Black boys reading? Yeah, we don't care about it. That's why we're talking about it right now, because we don't care. We're just talking about it because we don't care, Trigger Mike.
I don't get that question.
Yeah, no, what I'll say is I think that there is some sort of subconscious, like there's propaganda that's being consumed on the subconscious. So when a woman is just like accepting the propaganda and being an independent person and just going out getting like 3-4 different degrees, that's taking her 8 to 10 years, and then she's also in loan debt, they're not thinking about the necessary purposes of a man in a relationship with them. All the things that a man can provide to a young boy growing up. When you add that with the lack of encouragement that young boys have in the society to go out and do different things they're interested in, I could see how it could contribute to that statistic that you just shared with us. But to answer your question, I think that feminism and this time where women have the most degrees or whatever, it's attempting to destroy boys. But I don't know if it's just me being optimistic. I don't believe it has completely destroyed boys, though. I think it's attempting to, but more and more we see elevation with especially boys becoming men. We see this whole new trend of, getting in shape, of focusing on your purpose in life. I find that young men are fighting back at the propaganda that essentially wants them to think that they're shit. So I feel like if Black boys and men could survive this narrative that's been shoved down our throats for decades, which is niggas ain't shit, I'm sorry, but most men, especially Black men I know in the middle class who are attempting to fulfill their objectives in life, they don't believe in that. I've heard people say niggas ain't shit, but I haven't met a lot of Black men who actually believe that. So in that sense, I think no, Black boys are not destroyed, but it's attempting to destroy Black boys. Does that make any sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I could speak on my own children and some of the young folks that I speak with, and what I see on these YouTube streets is that the millennials maybe are free, more free in the way that they do things, but when it comes to the Zoomers, they're starting to pull back a little and becoming more conservative in some of their values, so in that sense, I could see what you're saying. Did feminism destroy our boys? I mean, if the idea is to have healthy people, or boys specifically, grow up in a healthy environment, then the idea is to have them whether it's in a 2-parent household. Okay, so from that standpoint, we have to look at if the feminist ideology goes against that, right? Then that's going to indirectly, mess up our young boys. Okay, if you feel like you don't need to have a partner in there helping you to raise that young man, you know what I'm saying? So,
Okay, those are good answers, actually. All right, so the next question I got for y'all: did feminism destroy the nuclear family? So I'll let y'all go first on this.
Trigger Mike, can you please describe the nuclear family real quick?
Mother, father, mother, children.
2.5 kids.
Yep.
Dog. White picket fence. House.
Yep. Under the same roof.
Here's what I'll say. I think that the simple answer is yes, but I think it's more than that, right? I don't think that we can put it all on feminism. I think that we also have to take accountability as the entity of men and also realize what was accepted as well. So, for example, the whole, you can't get this assistance if the man is in the house type of thing. Well, a lot of the times men would allow that to happen so that their women could receive something from the government. That was a mistake, in my opinion. That was one of the things that contributed to I don't need no man.
You mean the Great Society and welfare?
I'm sorry?
You're talking about the Great Society with the welfare program?
Yes.
I was trying to do some research on that in my own state because I wanted to see if that's actually true with some of the things that they talk about. Like if you get welfare and welfare assistance, government assistance, and you're a single mother, that you have to have an income at a certain level, and you can't have a man in the home as well. Is that true? Is that really true?
I don't know if it's like that now, but when it started, that was true. It was on paper that's what it was. And so a lot of men sort of acquiesced to that rule because, I'm having a hard time finding a job. So you know what? I'm going to just leave and I'm going to let her receive the benefits, which in my opinion was a big mistake. And I feel like it contributed to the breakdown of the nuclear family, which then opened the door to all of this, these anti-male ideologies.
Yeah, I see it being brought up, but okay, so if the idea was to create a safety net, right, for women that find themselves in this situation, right, where they have to raise a child on their own, right, and the government is saying that you will get this assistance, but as soon as you have a man in the home, is it because now the income levels have to be joined together and then it puts you out of the welfare bracket? Exactly how does this happen? And then so if people are trying to game the system to say, hey, it's better if you don't come in here because I still want to get this money, because I think the government had that in there, but at the same time, they still wanted people to come together. You know what I'm saying? Because that was the idea. If you marry the man and then his income joined with yours, now it puts you out of that income bracket where you don't need welfare anymore.
No. See, that was the projected idea, but it was disingenuous because at the time when it started, a lot of black men was having a hard time finding jobs, and they was also dealing with discrimination and all types of stuff, which opened the door to this. So they'll say if you are with a man and you're married, obviously the income is going to increase, so you don't need the support. But they knew that black men were having a hard time finding jobs at that point and all of the different social issues that black men was going through at the time. So it was a thing that was most certainly going to happen. What you're saying is how they put it on paper, but the true objective was different.
Do we need that today? You see what I'm saying? Do we still need this type of incentive program set up in this fashion today, where you have both sides or both sexes are doing well? Like you could live, above the poverty line pretty easy in America, right? Apply yourself. You don't have to live with welfare, or you can do it temporarily. So do you still need to have the same type of law, right? So why not? Why are women not joining up with another man, knowing that you join your incomes together, it's gonna move you out of that welfare?
Because of the propaganda. Because when a man is in the picture, they have to abide by. If a man is a leader and he's in the picture, they have to abide by that man's situation, that man's plan, that man's rule. And when you live in a society where the man is the evil devil, toxic masculinity, it's better for me to just receive these benefits and not abide by whatever a man says. Plus, I also get protection by any man in society, since that's the expectations on men. So I already get protection from men. I get respect from men, right? Any man will sleep with me, essentially.
I want to answer that.
And I get benefits
Yeah.
from the government whilst not abiding by a man's plan and having him in the home. So why would women why would women want what you just said? You feel what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And also, too, you said, should we have these safety nets? I feel like if men aren't provided the same safety nets in 2022, leading on to 2023, pertaining to these government benefits, then they shouldn't exist for anyone. Because you could say the same in the inverse. If a man isn't married to a woman in today's society, then there's not two incomes that he has. So maybe there should be a safety net for him pertaining to government benefits, but there are not. They're mostly only just for women.
I have a theory on that. Yeah, I have a theory on that, but that'd be a long conversation. Like this is something you could run on and probably get a whole bunch of people to come on board when it comes to like men's rights. But anyways, I want to answer this right here. Why is married man concerned about single women?
So let me go first, DJ. Let me go first.
Okay, go ahead.
Because she's addressing it to me. All right. So Sugar Mom says, why is a married man concerned about single women? This is actually an excellent question. Okay. So yes, you are correct. I am married. Now, I am married with children. My eldest is a girl. I have a daughter. And the one thing I don't believe people understand is that this third wave feminism affects our daughters. It lines their mind with BS that will affect us in our future. Let me give you an example of what I see and how feminism and the behaviors of the modern woman affect men. You don't believe it affects us, but it creates an imbalance in our society. When women, so the funny thing about feminism is that you will never see me accost a woman or criticize her for not wanting to be married. That is not my agenda here at all. My only thing is that women who aren't married still have children. You notice that? Women still have children. So then the outcomes and what men need to worry about is what's best in society for those children. There are men in society, especially in the Black community, that are stretched out because they have to be the man for so many families. Now, this is an interesting thing. That daughter I have, my daughter, I do not want her getting infected by this feminist ideology. That is going to cause problems for me down the line into old age. There are men who have been fathers to their daughters their entire lives who have to deal with their daughters' bad decisions because the mothers, whom these men's wives, want to help these girls who had babies out of wedlock. So now this man who's earned retirement can't enjoy his wife because they're helping their daughter, who did not prioritize getting a man and prioritize staying single. So the one thing that is funny is that you deprioritize getting a man, but still need one.
Can I respond to it after you?
Yeah, you still need a man. You are creating an imbalance in society that way. You're stressing out the men who are responsible, who are well-performing, well-meaning. You're putting too much on our backs with your ideologies. That is why married men care about what single women do, because we are the fathers of these people. We're the uncles of these people. We're the mentors of these single women because everyone is bringing their kids to us saying, can you help us out? He just needs a little bit of guidance. She just needs a little bit of care, when it's supposed to be one man taking care of his family. The only way we should really see all of this we got going on in the community is if you're a man playing the kinsman redeemer. You know what that is? That means that your homie died in battle and you're single. So you step up to take care of his family. That's the only way this stuff is supposed to be happening. But y'all are choosing to make babies and stay single. That's why married men like me have a problem with it. Go ahead, Dark Lake.
Okay, hey, listen, I'm going to go after this. Trigger Mike, I just want to say thank you so much, man, for allowing me to speak on your show. And I'm honored to be a part of the premiere. Thank you, man. I'm going to be tuning in. And I think that your perspective on things is something that should be added to the conversation. So thank you for even having the motivation to start your channel and get your voice out there. DJ, it's my first time speaking with you. It was nice meeting you, bro. I just want to say this. I'm so happy that Sugar Bum left this message because it correlates to what I was saying earlier when I first called in. She said, why is a married man concerned about single women? Guys, remember when I said they want to devalue men and take away the power from men, but then also still enjoy the benefits of the expectations of men in society to protect them? So she doesn't want you, Trigger Mike, to have an opinion on single women because you're married. But guess what? You being a married man, if you go out and a woman is being assaulted and you don't do anything about it, it's, oh, black men don't protect black women.
Absolutely.
But why in that moment, in this a fictitious scenario that I'm projecting, why in that moment when that woman is being assaulted and you don't help, I wonder if Sugar Bum will look at you and say, oh, you're a married man. Don't worry about that single woman being assaulted. You're married. Why protect her? Why worry about them single women having a hard time over there? You feel what I'm saying? It's like they want to devalue, even if you just have an opinion, they want to devalue your influence or opinion pertaining to single women, but you're still expected to save a single woman, being a married man, just by virtue of you being a man, if that woman is in trouble. And see, that's where I get upset sometimes. That's where I see the double standard and contradiction that I like to speak out against, because I'm literally at the point where if you want to take away authority of a man, even if that's referencing him projecting an opinion, then you don't get the protection. So if you Trigger Mike, if Sugar Bum is right, and you shouldn't worry about single women because you're a married man, then you shouldn't protect single women because you're a married man either. And
what do you got to say about that, Sugar Bum?
She ain't gonna say nothing. She ain't gonna call up. Hey, God bless you guys. Trigger Mike, God bless you. And yeah, boys are not destroyed. Peace.
I appreciate that, man. Thanks for pulling up. You know, you always welcome. All right. See you soon, bro. All right, Mr. DJ, what you got for me on the topic?
As a married man that have 2 single daughters, I am concerned about, their welfare, right? And their your future endeavors, and who they get married to, if that's something that they want to do. Because nowadays, a lot of these young folks don't want to get married. My time, we saw value in it, and I'm still married to the same woman, that I've been married to for 31 years. So, we want, essentially, I'm trying, my goal is to impart some wisdom so my daughters can raise a family of human beings that can contribute to society and not be a detriment to society, ultimately, right? And so there's certain things that I, like yourself, Trigger Mike, that I don't want them to adopt certain types of ideology that I find, uh, you know, uh, harmful, right? We want to do things in the proper order, good things. We want to raise good people. So that's ultimately the goal, and that's why I'm concerned about it, because there's a lot of things. I'll tell you what, raising a child today, man, if you have like little children and they're starting to go into school and in middle school, that kind of thing, and then high school, there's a lot of ideologies, not just feminism, that parents have to contend with. And if you grew up in a family where you're conservative or you have certain values that you're trying to conserve certain traditions, that becomes very difficult. There's a lot of people that are. I know in 2020 there was a lot of people that started homeschool.
Yeah.
Because they had no choice, for one, because everything was closed down. Plus, they maneuvered in a way that said, you know what, let's keep this going because I'd rather control what my children think versus being indoctrinated by the education system. Where they're going to be exposed to a lot of this toxic ideology. See what I mean? So you're competing with that. My girls are beyond that, right? I've trained them as best to my godly ability in the way that they should go. And hopefully that stuff sticks with them when they start dealing with certain people and certain things. because there's a lot of things out there that is a distraction.
So you touched on something that's actually very important. And there are statistics to prove it. So, it's not because Trigger Mike said it, it's because the stats say it. You said that you are ultimately responsible for making sure that your daughters are, probably misquoting you, productive, functional members of society. Well, here's a stat. 80% of prison inmates come from single mother-led homes. So as men, we can conclude that women are not best suited to create productive, functional members of society absent of a man in their home. That's
true.
That is a discernment that, I didn't make up. If you don't have a man in your home, you better go find one, or you better go find someone to help you impart the knowledge on your children. This is why we won't leave it alone, Sugar Bum. In fact, it's really, you really baited us, because this is not even a discussion. You know this. Ultimately, we made the distinction earlier. I told you, women always default back. Y'all always default back to being women when you get the chance. So after, if we let y'all be in charge a little bit and you scorch the world, you blow up the earth, you're just going to get behind us and be like, oh my God, what are we going to do? My bad. I didn't mean to do all of that. That is your default mechanism. You expect men to lead. So stop playing games. Stop playing games with us.
Let me play, I don't like to use that term, but let me play the advocate for the other side. Okay.
We can go.
So in this day and age where you have a lot of women, right? They're accomplishing a lot of great things. Right? They're in positions of leadership. They got their doctorates. They're in positions of power. I mean, my sister alone, man, she's doing quite well, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so marriage has been redefined in our society, right?
Is.
So you have same-sex marriage. So where are the stats on that? They're not. I mean, is there enough data, since that the laws has changed where same-sex marriages have been legal? Is there enough data to suggest that the same things are happening in those type of relationships when they dissolve and they're raising? Now one of the parents has to raise the child alone. Is the same results are occurring? You know what I'm saying? And then you have things I think is going to happen eventually, like polyamorous relationships or polygamy. That's going to happen eventually, right? So and then the roles as far as the roles in themselves in the nuclear family, that was clearly defined for a long time. But now, if you have women that are becoming the breadwinner, or they're making more than men, and a lot of them are becoming the breadwinners, right? And if you have that type of situation, is that bad? Is that as a traditional person that's brought up in a traditional manner? How am I to say that is not something that would work for someone else? You know what I'm saying? And if the idea is that we want people to come together in marriage, what does that mean? Because there's all kinds of marriages. See what I mean? And there's a lot of marriages that are not being conducted in a traditional manner, but they're working.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. I mean, as far as, the other things you were talking about, I don't have stats on that, but I think nobody really does at this point. Because the traditional nuclear family is actually, you either in a nuclear family or not in one. That's the basis of where the stats come from in the majority of people. What we also need to recognize is that we're becoming an immigrant intensive country again, in which their family bonds are very strong. So, the other category is probably going to get washed out by the wave of, South Americans coming here, Mexicans coming here, because those people's families are bonded. And as they get their citizenship, they'll be represented in the numbers way more. So, yeah, I don't have those stats, but that'd be a good show to go over it. I actually wanted to give DB the spotlight because we've been giving Sugar Bum a little too much of it. DB says we expect men to lead, but not black men. We're way past that. So I'm not even going to get salty or say anything because, like I said, your perspective, no matter what it is valid, even if it's smoke, but we can debunk it, right? So I need things to talk about. So on that, let me tell you something, DB. Every home, despite whatever low number it may be, I believe it's 33, 34%, every home, every black family that is created by the will of a black man. Every nuclear family household that's created right now was created by the will of a black man. He decided to create that family, impregnate that woman, merge himself into another family, etc. So I think it's all relative. If 72% of black female mothers are unwed, you're naturally going to get boys that do not have the example. But every good example you do have is also created by those men. So it doesn't matter really what you say. We as men know that other men have the capacity to do what is necessary when given the opportunity. Right now, we also got to look at it like, hey, who do these men have to choose from? All right. Because of feminism, and I'm just going to say this, women are more so side chicks than they are wives. They're better side chicks than they are wives. Rarely do men come out here and say, man, there's a whole lot of wives out here to choose from. No, it's a whole lot of side chick behavior going on. You know, feminism did that, unfortunately. And this is really what this show is about. And I just want to say this part, and I'll let you go, DJ. This is really what feminism has done. The women who are, let's say, cream of the crop, even black women that are cream of the crop, you know, people like my wife, for example, they do it all. When a man thinks about marriage, it's because of those type of women. We want a woman who can keep her mind in the home as well as do what she needs to do outside. Feminism has made women think that their loyalty, their attention needs to only lie in one place that's beneficial to them. It also made it so women behave like caring for their children and their man is a burden to them. It's a mindset issue. These women that I'm talking about, these do-it-all women, it is their pleasure to serve their family. All right, so you come up here and let me know if you're that type of woman, DB. Is it a pleasure for you to serve a man? Is it a pleasure for you to serve your family? Or are you just bumping your gums like everybody else in the chat? You're free to come up whenever. Go ahead, Mr. DJ.
Well, you know, I have these aspirations like to write some sci-fi, and I think that this would be an interesting thing, even if it's just an episode for the Twilight Zone, you know, where let's just say all the roles were reversed, you know, and you know, I think they've done something like this in like Star Trek, you know, where the women rule. Women are ruling everything, and guys are the ones that are back taking care of the kids. You know, you got the women fighting the wars. You know, and the utility of a man is just to be a sperm donor. You know, and offer protection when ordered to, or you know, to move some rocks because they got bigger muscles. You know, it's just a utility at this point. You know, is that the idea that we're going for here? You know what I mean? What do you hope to gain from this type of ideology? You know, at the end of the day, is it just because you have to, you know, you just want to fulfill your own selfish interest? It has nothing to do with trying to, you know, join yourself with another man, with another person, right? That takes a lot of effort, and that takes a level of risk, no doubt, because you know, there's some power that you're going to have to give up. There's some compromises that you're going to have to make. You know, you're not going to come into this situation dealing with the perfect person, you know, 24/7, 50, 60 years from now, they're going to be the same kind of individual. You know, you're going to evolve together. You're going to find out what works and what doesn't work. But a lot of times, people today, they've had so many, I don't know, they're exposed to so much that so many people, it's like, well, you know what? Instant gratification. You know, you're not fulfilling my needs. I'm going to find somebody else. You know,
Yep.
That easy. If and here's a funny thing. Somebody had brought to me like, you know, like, well, you know, if you don't like certain laws, like if you don't support certain laws, then you just, you know, you just don't love people. You know, you're not a caring person. Like if you don't like same-sex marriages, then you just don't. You're a bigot. You just don't care about people.
Mm-hmm.
I said, man, the government they don't care about love.
No.
You know what I mean? If they did, then these laws would be set up to keep people together, right? Okay. So I may have my own particular brand of what marriage ought to be, right? But it's been like that as far as I'm concerned for thousands of years, right? But if we're going to redefine marriage, to what point are we going to do it? Why are we going to do it? Because first of all, if there's certain negative traits that we want to remove from society when it comes to crime, right? When it comes to the birth rate, which is dropping dramatically, right? And you want to create some productive citizens, right? They expect to see what the government is doing in order to promote that. Because currently, and I understand why guys are on pause. I understand that because the laws are not in their favor. And now you have men. They're okay. Maybe they weren't raised in a family that taught them of the dangers of marriage when it starts to break down. I personally was never taught that, right? What to look for, what could happen. I was never taught that. I was just like, this is your duty. You need to do this is what you do. You just do it. And if the marriage breaks down, it was your fault. That's how I was taught, right? But guys are being like, no, they're being, you got all this information to pull from down, right? And so guys are doing the research, or they're following certain people that are telling them the truth of what's going on. And you have guys that are like, look, yeah, I want to get married, but there's these women out here that I don't know if they're gonna run a game on me or what. And at the end of the day, am I the first choice, or am I the backup plan? You know what I mean? Am I the guy they settle with? So if the marriage dissolved now and I invest in all of this, what's a good time I need to pop smoke? Is it at the what Coach Greg talked about? It's at the 9-year mark, on December 29th. Then you have to be divorced by then, because in certain states, if you go to that 10-year mark, you're gonna lose it all. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I was never taught this kind of stuff. And these young men are learning this. So they're on pause. They're like, whoa, 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 whoa. I don't know about this now. You OGs are saying, get married, get married. But these young guys are, well, wait a minute. Do you understand why I'm not willing to do it? Because I can't trust that the person's going to want to stay with me, right? They're just looking for the option to leave at the moment's notice.
That is so
I'm not trying to push marriage in the sense that, okay, you could do it. And by the way, I don't run in a lot of these circles, quite frankly, that on these YouTube streets. I've run into many conservative people that I know that think the way that I think, right? That have conservative values, and they are raising their children in a very traditional manner, and they're doing actual courting. Courting is not dating. Courting is, it's like, if say you're a Muslim, like you're not going to see a woman without somebody in their family with them.
Oh, period. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That's courting. So you're gonna talk to the woman on the porch, and we can see you through the window.
You know what I'm saying? That's a whole show. So let me interject there. That's a whole show. Right. So I don't even want to get into I'll just come back for that show.
Okay.
So, that show is actually, I've already titled it. We might even do that tomorrow. Dating is the devil. It's the devil. Like, nobody can make we'll get into it a little bit.
All right.
Nobody can make a valid case that dating is great for women. It's only great for men who want to have a lot of sex with different women. That's it. The reason why relationships don't work, because I have a mouthful for people who say relationships don't work because of people and this, that, and the third. People are just marrying the wrong people. All right. Think about it this way. Those arranged marriages last longer than every marriage in any society, because these people were picked for you. All right. So even if you didn't know them, and I'm sorry, it's usually somebody you do know that you're arranged to, but it'll even work when your family picks that person if you don't know, because they're picking them off of values, quality, substantive characteristics, and not what we do in the dating sphere, right? Everything in the dating sphere is superficial. It's ethereal. You're trying to pick your Disney fantasy and trying to have a moment instead of looking at the qualities and real life things that make a relationship work in the long term. In my opinion, most people should be marrying somebody they knew in high school, college at the latest. All right. You should be wrongfully accused of murder on the day after your wedding, and your wife be able to give you a 100% positive character reference that you did not do it. That's how well she is supposed to know you. You see what I'm saying? That is usually, could you imagine, right? And this is not everybody. Dating works for like people like me. I'm just gonna put it out there. Dating works for me because I was raised a certain way. All right. So I needed to get to know a woman in a certain way. I was uncomfortable at a certain point in my life just using a woman for her body. Right. So if it's like if I'm faking it, taking her out on dates and things like that, I'm like, oh, this is wrong. She's gonna think I'm really interested. So unless I was upfront about it, I didn't really do that with women. If I was very intentional, I was kind of like a serial monogamist, always very intentional. So it can work with me, but that's not most people, especially not most men, if we want to be honest about men. All right. People usually hide their love interests, I guess, from their family. Your family is supposed to be involved at the beginning of the dating process. You want to know how to vet somebody, bring them around people that are more experienced than you. And you'll find out quickly if somebody's right for you or not. But that's my little portion on the dating. I want to ask you a question.
That's good. I would like to join that conversation. Keep track on you. Yeah, the dating thing.
Yeah. We might do that the one tomorrow now that I think about it. All right. Has feminism permanently changed gender roles?
Permanently? It's trending upward in that direction. The roles are changing. And that comes to what I was saying earlier. Like, if you have two people highly educated, right? And but then one is, say the woman is more educated than the man. She's working in a position where she's already making way more. She's bringing 6 figures, 200,000, 300,000 already to the table. Okay, and you as a couple decide, all right, you know what? I'll go ahead and we want to have a family, and we want to set our family up for having a good nest egg, so our children can go to college and all that, whatever, right? I think I will fall back and I'll raise the kid as the man. I'll raise the kid. We'll just lean on your one income. I'll find something else to do, maybe, that I could do from home, where I do a home business or something like that. Something there, because we don't want our kids to be raised in a in a daycare.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and in fact, I'll tell you what, I'll go a step further. I want to teach our own kids. So I want to homeschool our kids as well.
Yeah.
Right. And we'll just live on your one income, and we'll just pool our resources together, and we'll decide on, house, whatever, when it comes to money. But we don't want that to be an issue. And then at a certain point, if I tell you that our kids are at a certain age and they, where I can now go step out and work, because our kids are in school, so I can use that time to find my own job, then I can add to the nest egg for our whole family. But I'm willing to take that role, but we have to decide on whatever, as a family together. And does this work? This is the quote unquote power couple. But is it 50-50? Like women say? No, it's not 50-50. And so the woman's going to be making more, and the man's going to be doing more in the house. So is that a traditional role? No. But does it work? And as long as they are married, is that the goal? You know what I mean? Because there's a lot of OGs that talk about, get married and all this. It's just kind of basic things they say, But then you dig a little deeper. They talk about these traditional roles, right? And I'm like, okay, I understand that. I understand where that comes from and that works. But is there room to make adjustment in today's environment? Or does accepting the reversal of roles is also accepting the destruction of traditional values?
Yep.
And that you're losing that. You don't want to lose that. That's the why you fight against it. Yet you have people that you know in your own family that are doing this, and they're doing it successfully. So what's the problem?
So let me see. I'm not sure. Yeah. Well, let me give you my opinion. I'll just start there.
That's a lot. I know.
Yeah. Gender roles. I don't like that term necessarily because that's where the pushback comes from. That's where the pushback from feminism comes from. All right. Because it has the word gender roles. Gender roles are actually natural roles. Remember when I told you if you leave men and women alone, it's been proven now by whole nations that have made equality the purpose of the law. Equality between men and women, the purpose of their law. Men and women separate themselves out more than they do in American society, let's say. More women want to be stay-at-home moms. More women want to be nurses. More women want to be nurturers and caregivers and all of that. So it is impossible. So when we talk about the stay-at-home dad, for instance, that's never going to be the majority of dads. That's never even going to be a good percentage of dads. And let me even tell you why. And that's because of the women, not the men. Women, by and large, cannot stand the sight of a man home while they're coming in exhausted from work. They are not wired that way. That's why I said these are natural roles. The one thing that I want to I want people to really think about is that no one really, the stay-at-home dad thing, who sustained that? How many stories do we have of K through 12, birth to 18 years old, of a stay-at-home dad doing that the entirety of their child's life? There's not many, because at some point, we call it natural roles because women are so mercurial. They change with the wind. They may want something. They may even convince you. That's why it's not smart for a man to adopt the philosophy of a woman. I believe in the example that you gave where the woman makes more money, the man is still a sucker and a fool for agreeing to it.
Okay.
If you adopt the philosophy, listen, women think that we are inherently on these panels misogynists. We are not. We have 2 eyes and 2 ears. We watch and we have foresight. We watch their mothers, their grandmothers, and everyone else do the same thing. They change their mind. So if you adopt, the one thing I know as a man is that I cannot adopt the philosophy of a woman. That's actually a play on words because there really is no philosophy. It changes so often. So that woman with that $300,000, $400,000 job, the very next year may say, and mind you, she's taking you out of the workforce. So now you basically have to start over. You've lost your chances for advancement. You're now the mercurial person in the workforce. They don't know if you're going to stay or leave. She's just going to change her mind and say she wants to switch roles. Now what? That's what happens when a man adopts the philosophy of a woman. He's ultimately going to pay for it.
Well, is the data there yet, or we still have to wait? You know,
well, that's the thing.
Here's the thing too. Like, here's the thing. So let's say men are willing to go along with this, okay, and call them simps or whatever. You know, if the goal is to get people married, right, and if it works for them, what's the problem with that? But anyways, let's say that this starts to happen in mass, okay. Now you have men that are starting to complain and say, "Hey, listen, you know, you're not spending enough time at home. You know, I'm raising these children by myself, so I have the same discussions going on, right? So I want to change these laws to cut back on these hours. Shouldn't have to work that long. You know, you need to spend more time here and help being involved in our children's lives. You know what I mean? So now men are going to go and start enacting legislation in order to cut hours. or if maybe the things that women want to have happen, like for example, what is it, the maternal leave? Maternal leave increases because men have like fought for that. So yeah, we need maternal leave because uh, our wife is at home. We're trying to help her out, but we need to be there with her too. So you got all these weird things going on because these weird ideas that are changing. Men and what's interesting enough, a lot of the things that happen, quite honestly, a lot of the laws that affect society have been. You can't discount men making it happen. You know what I mean? And so maybe that's what needs to be done in order for the relationships to improve. Men need to stay at the home and be a lazy home man wife.
Yeah,
watching soap operas,
I'm telling you
and raising children, and just living off of these high powerful women. Just kicking back in the cut. So, yeah, man, bragging on their women going to.
The reason, so going to. The funny thing is that even listening to that is problematic. Like, it was making me itch because now you think about it. Now you think about it.
I was trying to be like chaotic,
Yeah, I was gonna say maybe
soliloquy. I'm not as good as him, but yeah.
I was gonna say maybe that would be an experiment to try. But what I would really also love to see is when they ultimately divorce, because I believe that type of relationship will ultimately end in divorce. I believe women are affected. So did you know that women experience more units of stress per stressful event? So they feel everything more than we do. So like I said, when she's coming home after a long work day, she got her ass verbally whooped at work. She feels like she might lose that job. Then she comes home and your feet are up eating a corn dog and popcorn with a beer cracked open. She's going to feel that more than a man ever could. In fact, men don't even think about it. Now that we're thinking about it, men don't think about that, or we don't get upset at our women relaxing while we're exhausted. They do, though, in the opposite sense.
Yeah.
Okay, that will end in divorce. It is not natural for a woman to care for a man. They will feel that more. They will feel resentment from it more. They will disrespect you more because of it. And it's not that men need to be put. Remember, it's a natural thing. That woman will cheat on you with a more dominant man. I promise you, those women will probably be the highest rate of infidelity ever because they cannot respect anything they rule.
These are the kind of stats that should be put up. These type of polls should be done. Like how many women? That's when you start. I watch a lot of these like man on the street interviews where women are, interviewed, and they you have all this stuff. I'm a boss, bitch, and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, so if you but see, they still want to get married. So, but what does that look like? You know what I mean? And so when you start breaking it down, like I'm trying to break it down to get people to say, okay, what are they willing to have in their marriage, right?
Yeah.
The whole idea of equality and equity starts to break down.
Absolutely.
Okay? You know what I'm saying? Because all of a sudden it's like, oh no, my money's my money. Oh, wait a minute. No, I'm agreeing to you being the breadwinner. So how's that going to work out? What does that mean? I get no money? What about these kids? You know what I mean? Well, let's talk about it.
Hey,
you know what I'm saying? But there's no plan. It's just chaotic thinking. It's not really like there's a lot of immaturity. In fact,
not even about plan. Remember the term I said. There's no philosophy there.
Exactly.
A man who adopts a woman's philosophy is doomed. He is doomed. You do not adopt a woman's philosophy. You have to have your own philosophy as a man, and it does not include letting your woman work while you sit down. I mean, and there are situations in the interim, right? I remember my father was injured once. He got hit in his car, and he wasn't working, but he got a check for that, right? So, there are instances where it can happen. It's never the philosophy or the plan to be laid out for the long term. I believe that, again, gender roles are actually natural roles. The other point I wanted to make on this particular topic is that women cannot keep their mind out of the home. What would you feel like if you were a stay-at-home dad and this woman is calling 26 times a day to check on the kids?
Well, that's the guilt.
I'm like, if you don't stay your ass at work, what you calling checking on me for?
Want to be involved, feel like feel guilty,
Yeah.
for not being there.
There's actually a point that I forget. This is one of my more famous points on this. Women, y'all are not ready for men to stay home. Y'all are not ready for men to stay home. The reason why I say that is because the way men are you ready for us to be better than you at it?
Oh, ooh.
You do not want men to stay home. We will correct everything you complain about. We run our homes like armies. My children listen to me. Every word I say, they listen. I say, sit down. Yes, daddy. Are you ready for that? To watch me do that job better than you? I'm a military man. I fold my own clothes. I can cook food for you. You see what I'm saying?
This is interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. Are you ready for us to correct every wrong? We will actually do that job better. The difference is this is why I use the word better. We won't complain. Are you ready for men to do everything you can do and not complain about it once? Not talk about being stressed about it once? Because we won't complain.
There's a disconnect. So, I mean, in this dynamic, so you want to stay at home husband, but you detest the stay at home wife. I don't understand.
No philosophy, Mr. DJ. No right? Philosophy. You cannot adopt.
Why aren't they both valuable? Or that's good though. That's good.
Listen, no, I said that to a group of women at work when they were trying to talk the gender equality talk. Well, maybe y'all should stay home. And I said, are y'all ready for me? Are y'all ready for us to do the job better than you? Mm-hmm. You will want to escape. That woman making $300 will want to give that job up because now every complaint she would have had is gone.
I know we're breaking a lot of records when it comes to women's sports. Oh, a lot of records.
What do you mean?
The transgendered men, that so we're taking over everywhere. So,
I mean that's really funny, but you see how when it was the other than hetero men trying to ease their way into the ranks of hetero men, they all pushed and they didn't have a problem. Include them. Now it's the men going for theirs.
Okay, but you can't be taking all these records.
I'm sorry. I'm all for it. The men in wrestling, slam them on their neck. We have a point to prove. I'm ready to see all of it. I'm ready to see the UFC. I'm ready to see the trans women fighting women UFC fighters putting their nose where the back of their head should be, and all of that. I feel like that's probably some of the best explaining we can do in the world. That
I wouldn't want to see that, but I see what you're saying, but I wouldn't want to see that. I mean, look at what let's say look at what happened to Tua. Could you imagine if that was a woman that had to happen to like that? No, I don't want to see it. But I see what you're saying. Hey, I'm gonna have to break off because I have to make some phone calls.
No worries. We actually gone over 2 hours.
I have to eat.
I'm about to wrap this up.
But I appreciate it. I really like it.
Thank you, sir. Please come up anytime. All right, peace. All right, y'all. So let's wrap this up. So yes, this has been the premiere show. Thanks for everybody to stop by. Dark Lake, Mr. DJ, I appreciate that. So the beginning topic was, is feminism the Antichrist, or feminism is the Antichrist? And we basically hashed it out. This is what our society has become. The ideology of our women is destroying our boys. It destroyed our nuclear families, which essentially is destroying our society as a whole. So I'm Trigger Mike. Look out for more topics. Please get those likes up on your way out. Click that like button if you have not already. Subscribe if you have not already, and hit the bell for notifications. All right, y'all. Thank y'all so much for rocking with me. We're going to keep doing this. Until next time, I'm out.